Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, cheeseburger with no cheese. Change a tire, get a free truck. Put that on my personal credit card. Okay. Oh, that was Katie's job. I'm not sure if this belongs on Malicious Compliance, but I figured people will enjoy this. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Cheeseburger with no cheese. Yeah. I know. That's a hamburger. But try telling that to every single Mrs. After Church Karen 100 times and let me know how much you want to press the point. A cheeseburger was 25 cents more than a hamburger at fast food restaurant where I worked back in the day. Eventually I got tired of being yelled at for correcting/explaining that what people really wanted was a hamburger. This happened multiple times a month, mind you. I wasn't getting paid enough to stupid-proof hangry people's fast food orders. So I started ringing them up exactly the way they ordered. At first I'd ring them up for a hamburger, 'cause I knew that's what they meant. But I got chewed out by someone who read their receipt, so no more going out of my way to save people from their self-inflicted stupid tax. The first time I rang up cheeseburger, no cheese, the cook came up to tell me I rang it up wrong. I just said, that's how she ordered. My dead-on-the-inside tone said all that I could not express in mere words, and the kitchen employees caught on right away. They never questioned the orders rung up that way again. It was a win-win. I didn't have to get yelled at for trying to save people money, and the restaurant made an extra $1.50 every month from customers ordering cheeseburgers with no cheese. I don't mean to brag, but sometimes, the restaurant made a whole extra $2 a month thanks to me. It was a little thing, and petty, but it made my retail-weary heart a little glad. Ada. I feel I should mention this was 15 years ago, approximately. It still comes up when I reminisce with my fellow former food service workers while swapping war stories though. Update, I've been getting comments about burgers all day. And I couldn't get burgers off my mind. So I got a cheeseburger for supper. Best decision I made today. Change a tire, get a free truck. When I was 16 my father said if I changed the tire on his old pickup I could have it. For a 16-year-old girl with no money to buy anything better than a OMG ugly truck, I had no right to complain but really didn't want to learn how to change a tire. So I called my grandfather and asked if he would add me to his AAA as he already paid for my mom's and this would be a great birthday gift. Day after the AAA card came in, I called and had the tire changed. Dad bragged he was able to get me to change the tire. I didn't clue him in until 10+ years later and he admitted he didn't qualify how I was supposed to change it. Put that on my personal credit card. Okay. In 2000 I was hired by a company in the construction industry. In 2002 they asked me to help start a new division of the company. They are the owners and the general manager. The general manager made it known he had a bug up his butt for me after my first year. Intermittent little digs, flippant attitude, demeaning, etc. Cut to after we get the new division up and running and I request being able to start a web presence. Ownership is all over the endeavor while the general manager brushes me off and says, "It's your division, do what you want." My division functioned with a separate business name. As I'm purchasing the domain name, my thoughts turn to the mothership and how it has zero web presence. Checked out and lined up the actual two business names and several close permutations so they would be somewhat secure in knowing their business names couldn't be taken out from under them. I go to the general manager and ask for a check from the main company to pay for the domain names and he, again, brushes me off, saying, "It's your division," his favorite line, "Do what you want. You've got a credit card. Expense it like anything else." I did start to ask, "Are you sure you want me to put it on my personal?" And was curtly cut off. By 2004 my division was running at a %44 profit margin which netted $750,000 a year. In the first 6 months of its existence, I'd already paid back the build-out, training, machines, equipment, all the startup/setup. That is how successful this division was. The general manager became jealous of my achievements and tried to seize control over operations, citing he was the general manager of the entire company, whereas prior, it was my division to do what I wanted. Each horn in by him, I deflect and defend my division. By 2005 I'd had enough and ended up quitting as I heard he was preparing to fire me to fully seize the shiny penny as his own and take all the credit. I planned ahead, saved money, quit, and took 6 months off. It was a spring to fall extravaganza of doing whatever the heck I chose. Good times. Good frickin' times. About a year later, I can't remember exactly how long, a charge appeared on my credit card for my former company's domain names. Being for several, the amount stood out like a sore thumb. I called and verified the charge and who/what it was for, and in my conversation with a very nice person, they said, "Yes, Mr. X, all of these names are registered to you." About 3 years after I'd left the old company, my phone rings and guess what number pops up on the screen? Oh, yeah, I let that go to voicemail. The message was from the bookkeeper asking if I could return their call. Next day, here they try again, but straight to voicemail they go. After a week of messages that were now pleading me to call them back, I returned the bookkeeper's call. Well, the cat came out of the bag and the main company finally decided to build out a web presence and had shelled out a ton of money to do so. Think, online catalog, interactive web page, all the things we expect now, but were high-tech then and were just coming into functional reality. Lo and behold, when they went to get their beautiful .com up and functioning, their exact name was taken as well as a string of similar ones they could have used had I not snatched them up. The bookkeeper asked me to release the names to them. I indicated that would be very easy to do. It's a simple matter of signing them off, no? They agreed as their anxious web builder had prepped them for the chat with me. I said I'd be happy to turn the keys to the kingdom over to them, but I wanted a few things. Reimbursed for all expenses up until that point for owning the domain names. A finder's fee. That pissed them off, but what can I say, I was yelled at to put their domain names on my personal credit card. And the general manager himself would have to hand-deliver the check. That third line item was a sticking point, but dear Mr. Manager was forced to bend the knee. I mean, I certainly wasn't going to budge. General manager shows up at the appointed place, hands me the check, and barks at me about returning their domain names to them today. He did this so loudly people in the coffee shop we met turned and stared. I laughed and said, after the check clears, sure, yeah. He balked and insisted I immediately transfer the names to them as I was holding up the entire show. As I left, I smiled and said, "You're to blame here. You yelled at me to put the domain names on my credit card." He was absolutely fuming at this point. Besides, I love taking your advice to do what I want, remember? And I am. Oh, that was Katie's job. I'm not sure if this belongs on Malicious Compliance, but I figured people will enjoy this. I was working for a manufacturer years ago. It was a small operation run by a husband, CEO, and wife with a sister business of a front-end platform that was run by the wife's brother. The husband's mom and some cousins also worked there between the two businesses. With an operation like this, you had the typical micromanagement from CEO, minimum wage pay for top dollar performance expectations, and the general nonsense you can expect in a setup like this. I had this job while in college and needed to build my resume. They let me have a flexible schedule so I could leave early for my night classes and when I had midterms and finals, so I knew I had to stick it out. After about 6 months of working there, my job responsibilities grew tremendously, but my salary did not. There was a high turnover rate in the office from the we're a family environment that meant actual family got special treatment and everyone else was expected to do a crazy amount of work without getting any credit. One of my friends, we'll call her Katie, was looking for work and my company was hiring. I told her what she was getting into, but as a recent college grad looking for office experience, she decided to give it a shot. First, my referral bonus never came even after she had worked there for 90 days, and I was told that I shouldn't inquire about it because I referred someone to help the company, not to get the extra money. I wasn't in a position to push, so I didn't. I trained Katie in her role as she was taking some of my old responsibilities. Well, the CEO and the wife didn't like how much time the two of us spent talking to each other or how much time we spent away from our desks, which was genuinely us using the restroom and getting water. This made no sense because I handled product onboarding and Katie suggested products for curated events, so it was important that she knew what new products were coming out and when she could start promoting them so that stock wouldn't sit in the warehouse. We separately had meetings with the CEO and office manager, putting us on probation for this behavior. Cue malicious compliance. We stopped talking as much in the office, effectively cutting me off from curated events and making it impossible for Katie to use our new products on the upcoming events. Events could be scheduled anywhere from a week to several months in advance, so it was a great way to boost sales and visibility for our new items. My friend ended up getting fired for having a brain and questioning some of the stupid policies. Also for doing something so outrageous as taking her unpaid lunch hour, showing up at 9 and leaving at 5. Normally I would have gone back into the platforms to curate events until they found someone to take over the role, but I was petty. I had been there for a little over a year. I was training employees, teaching myself the ins and outs of all our retailers' backends to upload products, coordinating with our factories overseas, the freight companies, and our warehouse so that products would be live as soon as we had stock, and was still getting paid like I did for the minimal role I had when I got hired. So not my job, not my problem. Fast forward a few months, the CEO decides to show up to work on the office floor instead of working out of his private office. Whenever he was on the floor, he was always super loud and disruptive to the general flow. I hear him talk about sales from the past few months, specifically about sales from events, so naturally my ears perk up. He starts getting louder. I don't get it. There's this huge decline in sales. None of our new products are getting any traction. I haven't been addressed, so I keep tapping away at my computer and act oblivious. He calls over the office manager and they start hashing it out. 6 months ago the sales for our new items went down significantly. I'm thinking, yeah duh, that's when you told me and Katie to stop talking. The initial data that was supplied with product photos and descriptions weren't clear. It would have been a very long process for Katie to sift through the new products to try and match them to events, as opposed to what we used to do, which was she would tell me the theme and what she was looking for, and I'd get her data on a short list of items that she could review to match to said events, as opposed to dumping 100 products on her. Then 3 months ago they became almost non-existent. Sales have dropped almost 70% with these events. 3 months ago is when Katie got fired. Eventually, the two of them piece together that they need to blame whoever is curating events, and the CEO starts asking everyone in the office whose responsibility is it to work on events? Finally, it gets to a point where I can't stay quiet. The office is too small and I play too big of a role in product management, so I chime in, oh, wasn't that Katie's responsibility? CEO replies, she hasn't worked here in 3 months. You mean to tell me no one has been submitting products for 3 months? He is livid, and it's clear that I am now on the path of his rage. Why has no one been handling this? Everyone is kind of looking around, and the office manager, let's call her Karen, starts shifting the blame onto me since technically Katie was in my department. Once the finger pointing started, I was prepared to defend myself. Well, Karen, I thought you were the one who was in charge of managing and keeping track of every employee's role. So Karen replies, I am, but you knew this is an important part of our sales and marketing. I reply with, the week before she was let go, didn't you specifically get all of her passwords and a complete list of all of her tasks? Karen replies, yes, she is clearly concerned with where I'm going with this. And after she was let go, did you communicate to me that those tasks were now my responsibility? Karen, well no, but I shouldn't have had to. Me, but you're in charge of delegating tasks and making sure all work is assigned to employees. Are you implying that I was supposed to know that you had a list of tasks unassigned? Why would I assume that you didn't delegate those to another team member when that's an essential part of your role? Needless to say, while Karen was very annoyed with me, but I wasn't taking the fall. They didn't ask me to curate events, Karen handled that, which got them to hire another person very quickly because it was too much work for her on top of her other duties. The story of me and the new girl needs its own post, so I'll end this one here. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.